Good opener on a Friday night, isn't it? Think bishop. Oversee and care for your fellow runners. Why? Because they're falling behind. They're falling short of God's grace. I want to deal with the straight path in verse 13 first before I move on. We're actually going to skip 14, go to 15, come back to 14, because there's some stuff in 14 I really want to lay into as we end. So we're going to work this patch of ground for a moment, verses 13, 14, and 15, because here's the responsibility of me and you, okay? As I look over at people in this grace race, this is what I'm out here on the road trying to do in my life. Now, you may not be jumping on planes, flying all over America, standing up in front of people on a Friday night trying to introduce them to liberty and release them, but you still encounter everybody. You still encounter people in your own walk, and you have an encounter in your own spirit with these realities. Verse 13, make straight paths for your feet, so that what is lame may not be dislocated, but rather healed. I'm reading from the New King James. Make straight paths for your feet. What in the world does it mean to make straight paths? Well, I can tell you please remember this. This is context. This is a running metaphor. And if we're in a running metaphor, and we've got an exhausted runner whose arms are hanging, whose knees are feeble, and we want to make the path straight, it's because when you get to the end of your tank running, the last thing you want is to round the corner and see another hill. You understand? You don't even know where the finish line is. You're just trying to make it. You're trying to know how much strength to conserve. And you round the corner and there's 4 more corners, 2 hills, and a valley. And you go, oh boy, I wasted way too much energy on that last hill. I need this thing straightened out. And so the author of Hebrews says, if you see someone in a grace race and there's trouble, let's make the path straight. Now it's interesting to me, and this is because we take things out of context, how badly we've eroded the power of verses like this. I came up in churches where you were considered a weak preacher if you did not preach people to the brink of hell and then give an invitation where you pulled them all back out of the brink of hell. I'm talking every person in the building, not just sinners. Okay? You were even supposed to preach. I was raised hearing this. You were supposed to preach so anointed. This is what my daddy used to say. You preach hell hot and heaven sweet. Hell so hot you can feel the heat. Heaven so sweet you want to go there. No matter how many people in the house were saved or lost, that was exactly how you're supposed to plow forward. And here's what we would call it. You get done, they go, boy, I like this preacher. He preaches it straight as an arrow. Anybody else ever hear that phrase? Straight. He's straight as an arrow. And what straight as an arrow always meant was, that dude doesn't pull any punches when it comes to sin. He's up there exposing everything. If you've got a hidden sin, he's going to find it. He's going to turn over every rock in your life. I'd come out and people would be going, boy, you've stepped all over my toes tonight, preacher. You got all up in my mail tonight. I'd swear you were reading my mail, preacher. And they're always talking about all the stuff you've exposed, how straight the sermon is, which always led me to believe that every other sermon was curvy and wishy-washy and hilly, but the straight ones, man, it'll hit you right where you are. No messing around. And so this is how we apply stuff like this, because we'll go make his path, we'll say, make the way straight. You know, because the Bible says, broad is the way that leads to destruction, but straight is the gate and narrow is the way that leads unto life eternal. We'll go, that means it's hard to find. No, I hope this sets somebody free tonight. It does not mean it's hard to find. It means it's easier to run. Because if it's straight, you're excited. There aren't no more turns. You understand? Let me prove it to you. Remember this one? Mark chapter 1, verse 3. Did you get Mark 1:3? That's okay. I'll quote it for you. Mark chapter 1, verse 3. Mark opens, right out of the gate, Mark opens by quoting Isaiah, because here comes John the Baptist. Boom, right on the scene. Mark is a book of immediacy. 40 times in the book of Mark, the word immediately is used. A fourth of them are used in the first chapter. Immediately, immediately, immediately. He came up out of the water. Immediately, he went into the wilderness. Immediately, the Spirit left him. All of these immediacies. And so it's fitting then that Mark gets to work faster than any other gospel writer. Because boom, out of the gate, there's John the Baptist. And the Bible quotes Isaiah, which says that he shall come and preach, and he will declare, there's one coming after me, make his paths straight. Remember that? That's what John the Baptist said about Jesus. Make his paths straight. What does that mean? Well, if it means the old paradigm, straight is narrow, boy, that's some hard preaching, then I don't really understand that. I guess that means make it hard for people to hear Jesus. Well, that doesn't make any sense. John the Baptist come preaching very straightforward Jesus. Make his path straight mean make it easy to get to him. Make it easy to find him. Let me give you another one. Remember this in Luke chapter 3, where it starts quoting what's going to happen when Jesus comes, and it says, all of the mountain places shall be made low, and the crooked ways shall be made straight. He's talking about your life. When Jesus comes, he comes to level the mountains of your life and make your crooked path straight. That doesn't mean you don't have any problems. It means that Jesus comes so you don't have to live from one emotional mountaintop to the other emotional mountaintop. That you're living from a revival high, and then you get through your depressed Christianity and you get back to revival high.